Coming up in today's Leeds news, Joe Gelhardt's future and contract situation, international call-ups, Howard Wilkinson to be inducted into Hall of Fame. Experts say Leeds didn't max out on PSR, and Liam Cooper's next move. Morning folks, welcome back to the Leeds View Wednesday morning, the 5th of November with your Leeds United news. Hope you're all doing well. If you want to get hold of a Christmas jumper from Leeds United, you can do so over at fanatics.com. There's links down below in the description for that as well. But there's a lot of chunky stuff to get stuck into today and some detail. Another expert giving his comments on Leeds United's PSR situation. You can check out last night's podcast with myself, Jerry McNamee and Paul Bruckert to have a little bit of look back at the Brighton game, but also what Leeds need to do coming into the Forest game. I will have a breakdown video out probably either late Friday night or early Saturday morning to look at what Leeds can do differently, and a look at how Leeds set up early in the season versus how Leeds have set up in the last couple of games to show that there is things that Leeds can do and revert back to in order to help the current situation. You can check that out towards the back end of the week. Outside of that, let's crack on with the news, and we'll start off with Joe Gelhardt's contract situation. Leeds Live today have shared some detail on Joe Gelhardt's contract, his loan status and potential future at Leeds United. According to Isaac Johnson at Leeds Live, Leeds have no plans to recall Joe Gelhardt in January, despite the fact that there is a recall clause in his current deal. Sources at the club have confirmed that Leeds expect him to complete his full season-long loan at Hull City and not return to the club until the summer. Leeds rate Joffrey's character quite highly, but Johnson points out that Gelhardt's absence from Daniel Farke's pre-season squad means that there wasn't a place in his plans this season, and that's likely not to have changed even at this point of the season. Leeds Live have also pointed out that Joffrey is said to be very happy at Hull City and is seen as a key player as part of manager Sergei Yakirovic's side this season. He's having a really impactful season and scoring plenty of goals from a number 10 and a wide right position. But on Joe Gelhardt's contract situation, Johnson's given some details on that because there has been some mix-ups in the past couple of weeks. According to Leeds Live, Joe Gelhardt has over 18 months remaining on his Leeds United contract, and a summer free transfer is unlikely once the window opens. Leeds, though, however, are said to potentially look at a sale for the player in the summer. They did want to sell Joe Gelhardt this summer, but the offers weren't there at that time, and they feel that a successful season on loan at Hull City will increase his market value. He will likely be going into the final year of his contract at that point, and we've seen Leeds see players go into the final year of their contract and not be able to sell them at that point. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Leeds United do, but I think a lot of Leeds fans will be very happy for Joe Gelhardt himself to see him playing regular football again, as well as having a very good season at Hull City. Maybe not the Hull City part of it, but the fact that Joe himself is having a really good season, it's nice to see. He's a good lad, never caused any problems at Leeds United, and it's great to see him doing well, playing football again. Let's move on. Let's talk about the international call-ups. It's that time of the month again, and some Leeds players are beginning to get their call-ups for their international sides. Under 21 Leeds United goalkeeper Rory Mahadi has been called up by Scotland's under 21 Euro squad for their games in the Euros against Gibraltar and Bulgaria. Jakub Bial has been called up by Slovenia manager for their World Cup qualifiers upcoming against Kosovo and Sweden. More Leeds players are likely to get called up in the next couple of days. We'll give you updates on that as and when they happen. But as I always say, the less players called up for us, the better. But it is World Cup season for the senior players and Euro qualifiers for the under 21s as well. So you're likely to see quite a lot of names be called up in the next couple of days. And then a very important game for Leeds coming out of the international break against Aston Villa. But let's move on. There's some good news to talk about. A former Leeds United title winning manager, Howard Wilkinson, will be inducted into the National Football Museum's Hall of Fame. Leeds United confirmed yesterday that the induction will take place at halftime during Leeds United's Premier League game against Chelsea at Elland Road on Wednesday, the 3rd of December 2025. Leeds have also announced their support for the Wilco 92 campaign that looks to permanently honour Howard Wilkinson with a statue at Elland Road, and we hope to have one or two of the lads from the Wilco 92 campaign on the channel over the next couple of weeks to talk about that and give everyone an update on that situation. But Leeds have also confirmed that there will be a tribute lunch to Howard on Friday the 5th of December at Leeds High Sense Lounge in Elland Road. You can get details of that on Leeds United's official website, and there are a link there if you want to go to that. Wilkinson won promotion for Leeds from the second division into the top flight in 1990 before going on to then win the top title, and Howard Wilkinson still remains the last English English manager to win England's top flight. Great to see they did that with Leeds United. I was 9 or 11, between 9 and 11 between both of those promotions. So it did happen during my lifetime. I'd love to see it happen again. I think a lot of Leeds fans would love to see Leeds at that end of the table again during their lifetime. It might be more difficult to see, but you can get more details for the tributes to Howard Wilkinson regarding the Hall of Fame on the lunch at leedsunited.com, and I will pin in a comment below this video the details for the Wilco 92 campaign should you decide to want to get involved in that one. But it's great to see Howard Wilkinson being recognised. He did a phenomenal job as Leeds United manager. It's probably taken a bit too long. I know we can't keep naming stands after people. There's only so many stands, but as part of the Leeds United Ellen Road redevelopment, it'd be nice to see like actual walk of fame put in there with statues for the managers that have achieved stuff at Leeds United and players that have also achieved things during their time at Leeds United. It'd be great to see those kind of people recognised permanently in and around Elland Road. Let's move on. Let's talk about the PSR situation. Another finance expert has disagreed with Leeds' stance on their PSR headroom. As January approaches and Leeds' form has a little bit of a wobble, all eyes are now on the transfer market in January, and Leeds managing director Robbie Evans sat down with the local media after 2 days of silence from the club to explain that why Leeds didn't get their final targets this summer. At the time, Leeds United had tried to sign Harry Wilson from Fulham. That didn't happen. There was a lot of conversations around planes on the ground, player not getting on it. Leeds had put in a deal sheet. Fulham had said that there was no deal to be put in, that they had told Leeds United the player wasn't for sale. And there were also reports, and credible reports as well, late on, that Leeds United had made a late move for Sheffield United's Gus Hamer as well as Krasnodar's Edward Spurtian. But nothing happened on either of those deals, and since then, Leeds have had to deal with the very glaring gap that is on the right-hand side of the pitch because they didn't complete the window. But Evans said that Leeds United had maxed out their PSR and spent every penny available, which lined up with Parag Marate's comments at the time before the Everton game when he said Leeds would spend every available penny to ensure a successful season this year. But at that point, and after Robbie Evans' comments, there were several people who were sceptical around those comments. Since then, several football finance experts and accountants have said that Leeds likely had more PSR headroom than they're making out, and now football finance expert Adam Williams has disagreed with Evans' stance on Leeds' situation, saying that Leeds could have spent more. Sunderland's owner Kirill Louis-Dreyfus spoke to Sky Sports this week, and he said that he wouldn't be limited by a budget going into this season to achieve their goals. And while it is true that Sunderland had more PSR headroom than Leeds United, Leeds did have slightly more room in the tank, according to the experts. On Leeds' context and the situation heading into the window, Williams said the following. Leeds clearly didn't have carte blanche to spend whatever they wanted over the summer. They were limited by PSR, which dictates that you can't lose any more than £61 million across the 23-24 season, 24-25 and 25-26. Given that Leeds had lost almost exactly 61 million in 23-24 alone, you can see how they don't exactly have ample headroom, even though PSR has allowable deductions for infrastructure, academy investment, and so on. And that got them within the threshold for the 3-year period up to the end of that season. They trimmed costs last season and made significant player sale profits, but they still were in a position where they couldn't afford to bet the farm on staying up. The main question that came out of the transfer window is, could Leeds have spent more money? And another finance expert last month said the Leeds situation was more a case of not getting their targets as opposed to not having available cash to spend on players. And at that point, he said that Leeds United's available cash in the bank could also be taken into consideration for available funds to spend. On the spending levels, Williams had the following to say. They could have spent more. It's not true that they maxed out their PSR quota because it's not binary as an under or over situation, at least not until the end of the season. And Williams went on to say that Sunderland's situation meant that they probably could have spent in and around £100 million as well, and they spent well over 80 million additionally on top of that, where Leeds spent just over £100 million. So what does this mean? I guess it means that Leeds should be looking again at January as possible sales. There should be some money in the bank. It was there for Wilson. It will likely be there again come January. And the other side to this as well is Leeds will possibly have to look at the squad that they've got right now, who's playing, who's not, and if they're not playing, and there's quite a few players in that bracket, then Leeds will maybe have to make a couple of sacrifices, sell some players in order to bring in some cash to fill and rebalance this squad, to give the manager, the team, the club and the fans every chance of being successful this season. Now, the Sunderland Leeds United comparisons are not the same. Sunderland won't be in the ballpark where Leeds are at the end of the season. They're doing a different thing, but Leeds situation and the finance stuff is still important to discuss. For comparison, Leeds spent £108.9 million in the summer to Sunderland's £181.6 million. And while it is true and it is valid that Sunderland did have more PSR headroom, it wasn't 80 million of a gap. It was likely said to be running around £40 million. So they could be in a situation themselves, if they don't achieve their targets, they could be looking at a PSR situation come the end of January when the accounts are filed. And even if they do get a points deduction, they'll likely just fall back down pretty much in and around where Leeds United are right now, with a pretty decent squad there as well. Now, again, they're not really comparable. We should be talking about Sunderland, but just in terms of two clubs that got promoted and the available spend that they have and what they did. But again, this is another football finance expert that says that Leeds United did have more available funds to spend in the summer, and that will hopefully mean that coming into January, Leeds will have more money to spend on some players to fix the squad's balance. Let's move on and talk about former Leeds United player Liam Cooper. I left it till the end of the video because not everyone wants to talk about ex-Leeds players, so this is the final story of the video and we'll talk about him now. Former Leeds United captain and promotion captain Liam Cooper may finally have found a new club after being released in the summer. According to reports, Cooper could be on the shortlist for new signings for Sheffield Wednesday once they get their administration situation sorted out. The Sheffield Star has reported today that Wednesday are now in discussions with the EFL around bringing in free transfers, which is allowed outside of an active transfer window. The Star also claims that former Leeds United player Liam Cooper is a prime target of Sheffield Wednesday over the next couple of weeks to bring a player in who can help add experience to their incredibly young side that they've got right now. Cooper had been linked with a move to Sheffield Wednesday this summer, but it didn't happen due to the volatile situation that club was in at that point. But Sheffield Wednesday have said that they are confident that they will be able to bring in a couple of free transfers in the next 2 weeks during the international break, and Cooper falls into that bracket. He has been a regular at Elland Road watching Leeds United's games, but he is still keen to play football, and again, as a captain that helped Leeds United to get promoted to the Premier League and did very well in his first season in the Premier League along with the rest of that squad. Nice to see him finish his career the way he wants to finish his career and get a new club. But yeah, that'll be it for me today, folks. Massive thanks as always for supporting the channel, for liking, hyping, subscribing, all that stuff. Hype button wasn't available yesterday for some reason, but if it is back, you can press it. If it's not, press the like button if you can. Outside of that, you can check out last night's podcast as well, and then keep an eye out for the breakdown coming into the weekend, which is a much more detailed look at what Leeds United can do and questions answered around Leeds United fans that are online so far this season. Outside of that, enjoy the rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon. See you later.